Welcome to ClashKO Podcast. I'm Colton Cruz.
I'm Wyatt Garland.
Brianna Marshall.
Welcome to the podcast where we talk about anime.
And punch things with our mouths.
Today's topic, anime techniques.
The moves.
Yeah.
Signature moves.
Before we get into that, though, real quick, we've got some Prime eye content over at the YouTube channel, so check that out. But right now we're going to be talking about, the techniques, the moves.
Yeah.
We all got our favorites, but the best part about them is they're so juicy and specific.
Yeah, I mean, like, a signature move is a character's signature. You know, it's theirs.
No one else can... I mean...
So like signature moves would be like Kamehameha, which
everyone knows that one.
Yeah, but you know, we're talking about your Gum Barrels, your Gear Third, Super Saiyan, Fork Knife for Toriko, all that kind of like stuff.
Everyone's got their flavor. We got a couple. What was one of yours?
You know, I recently hopped into the JoJo bandwagon, and I would have to say my favorite JoStar is Joseph Joestar. But it's part 2 Joseph Joestar. He's young, he's 18.
He's got that hair.
He's got that hair.
Top.
It's like, how can you not love that? But I think my favorite technique of him is when he's fighting his opponent and he's just saying, your next line's gonna be blah blah blah, then they say, and they're just like, Nani? Like, that is the coolest thing. Like, I am amazed with magic tricks or anything, and that kind of trick I'm just like, oh my god, this is the coolest thing in the world.
Which is good because it's like a mind game signature move too, which is really unique.
And the thing is, that's his favorite go-to strategy. It's just like, oh shit, what am I gonna do? And he's just like, this will psych my opponent out. Let me try this. And they're just like, wait, off their guard. And he's just like, my turn to attack. Ha!
Yeah. They didn't just
cool.
sunlight overdrive him.
Just kind of bull rush everything.
Yeah.
And that was the second variation, so it's really exciting that he has that kind of, he even takes that concept and pulls it the whole series. It's not just a gimmick.
Exactly,
That's the best part
it is it's the whole series.
You tie it in there.
For sure. It's awesome.
Yeah.
I really liked, personally, 7 Deadly Sins. You know, I was a little iffy about jumping into it. It seemed a little pandering and a little too, cutesy for me, but I ended up liking it a lot. Obviously, I fell in love with the character Bon. He's, definitely, clearly just greed from FMA, but jacked up.
He's literally greed is his.
Yeah,
his greed.
And
he is the 7 Deadly Sin greed.
Yeah, he is 100% in. He's got some new hair. He's got a sexy look. But one of his moves that oh my god, when you hear it, Physical Haunt. I was just like, that's good. That's very good. That's, what was the genre you were saying before? The shouting the name of the attack?
Oh yeah, the Sentai thing of shouting your move, very Mazinga.
Yeah, it's just so I was like, no, that is Physical Haunt is just a fun. It just makes sense. But the idea is that when he's fighting someone, he has an ability called Snatch, where he can, if he touches you, he can take something from you, whether it be a body part or, some of your energy while you're fighting. So he does that. He, wears down his opponents and just sucks up and feeds on their energy. And, then he can steal their strength, which is in fitting with his character.
For sure.
But the way that they, they amp up his greed with that move and everything like that, it's fun. It's a fun one.
Yeah.
I mostly just like how it sounds.
For sure. Yeah, no, and that's the thing. Names are a big part of it because like you were saying with the Sentai part, shouting the name of the move kind of has to work sometimes for the move to work at all.
And I never understood that doesn't make any sense. Goku screams his. What are we not? No one else allowed to?
I mean, Kamehameha I think works in that perfect sense that the last part is ha, and that just allows the voice actor to yell. The last part of
it's it's coming.
Yeah. Which works it's really clever. And the repeatability, like you said.
Yeah, and it ties in with voice acting and animation in general. It's just it helps nourish and pull the series onward.
Well, I would say something with Physical Haunt too, it only has to get explained once that way too. It's it's kind of, because it is kind of complicated and kind of arbitrary because it's not completely depicted by the art that's going on.
Right.
So he explains it the first time and then every time he uses it afterwards he can say Physical Haunt, and you as an audience member are I remember how that was explained, that triggers that, so I'm not confused every time.
No, it's a nice thing. And then it's the same with the JoJo. When he starts saying that, you're like,
when he starts saying, what's gonna happen,
favorite.
which I think is
it cues you in that he has a plan.
Yeah, and it's that setup payoff just narrative thing of oh, like, you are rewarding me for remembering things in the beginning where he did that, and you're paying me off here, and, like, that's just satisfying to watch, obviously.
Super good.
Which is exactly what you want to pair with somebody screaming and doing something. Like,
the energy.
Is exactly.
All right, but I think you've got a more humorous one, right?
Yeah, so for my first one, I'm doing Gait of Bootylon, which is a play on Gate of Babylon from Fate Unlimited Blade Works. So in Fate Unlimited Blade Works, they have King, who's like, you know, the
it's the King of Babylon.
Character.
He's the King of Babylon.
Yeah, he's Gilgamesh. Well, he's Gilgamesh, which
right.
was not the King of Babylon,
okay.
but anime history, right? But he does Unlimited Blade Works, and his thing is he summons, because he's a king, he summons like all these spears and weapons out of portals.
He has a vault.
These like golden, like, it's a golden treasure trove of like weapons.
Any weapon.
He controls. In Keijo, it's a fighting manga about girls in swimsuits fighting with their butts.
Yeah.
And you have to knock each other off rings. So it's very, like, but the thing is, it plays very much on, like, the comedic value of, like, signature moves and stuff. Like, vacuum butt cannon is, like, the main character's punch, or main, like, signature move, and it's, like, a vacuum, like, butt swing.
Jesus Christ.
But Gate of Bootylon is, like, to that next level of, like, there's just a character who, like, you know, like, spreads their arms out, and, like, from the golden portals, just like in, Fate, these butts like slide out of the portals.
Right.
And her thing is when she touches a butt, she like can like copy that butt user's techniques.
Okay, so the idea is she has
she doesn't fire butts at people.
Right.
She because earlier in the first episode she does this thing where she massages all their butts.
Right.
And they're like, oh, like, I mean, obviously it's kinky. but they like explain it by like, no, like when she touches a butt she can like imprint its power.
It's
like,
muscle memory.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a physical haunt, so
she
to
does.
speak.
Yeah. So it's more like that's the thing. More than like an attack, it's more like a stand in the sense that like she summons it and then she draws power by touching the different butts and then like switching to their techniques.
Yeah. And the thing is, it probably has the same weakness though, right?
Right. Yeah. She's not as strong. Like
they're all just copies.
Yeah. They're just copies. Anime rule number 30. Like.
Guys, anime 101
copies are never
here.
as strong as the original. But I think it's really fun because it turns the signature move on its head from a really serious anime.
Right.
Like, for sure.
Oh, God. And a very villainous, like, character, too.
Yeah, a very villainous character, too. Like, the super quiet, shy, like, character.
Jesus, that's hilarious.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, speaking of vacuums, though, I am a huge fan of Baki Grappler, and it's this martial arts mess. Like, let's be real.
A mess.
It doesn't really... I remember reading it once, my brother was like, that art is so bad. Like, because it is, but it's so, like...
It's bad, but it's kind of purposeful, you know?
Yeah,
like,
it's grotesque.
It's like, yeah, I know that's how he draws. Like,
it's just like, oh my God, like, look at any of these panels.
It's like he draws it really, and you're like, well, that's not very good. But you're like, but he made 100 something chapters of manga out of it. Like, I don't know.
He just goes all in with doing this grotesque sort of exaggerated,
like
extreme...
sweaty muscle.
Yeah,
like,
it's a fighting martial art
They all
thing.
look like Dhalsim from Street Fighter.
Yeah, basically, hyper Dhalsim. But anyway, there's this, it's one of those series, kind of like JoJo, where he's always got to tie in some pseudoscience to these hyper martial art techniques he has. And there's this one guy in, like, season, I don't know, and he's the poisoner, right? So his whole deal is, he has a grip so powerful that he can create a vacuum with it. So strong that he could even scale was a missile silo tower, and the walls were completely smooth, but he could basically Spider-Man it and just like vacuum grip it, but he can take it one step farther and make a void, or he uses the void palm. He like takes all the oxygen out of the air in his hand or whatever, right? So it's like space. And then he does that with his other hand, and then he magnifies it, and then he'll cut it, and then he'll put that oxygenless air in front of your mouth and you breathe it in and then you're poisoned, right? Like, it's
really stupid.
It's super stupid. But like, he gets the main character with it. Like, he snipes him and it's like, oh like, it's a big deal.
I think to that point too, like, I mean, you can only have the enemy punch harder, like, so much.
So,
like,
it was just such a
exactly.
It's so creative and insane. I really liked it because they always drew him with like this sort of like stalking, like, oh, I'm gonna strike you with this, no one knew, because he seemed very weak, but he had the palm. And yeah, it's very...
As poison characters in anime are.
Oh, yeah.
Rule
number 45. If you use poison, you're gonna get beat.
Yeah, and you're shorter than everyone else, because why else would you use poison, right?
Sure, man.
All right, so you had one more?
You know, I have to jump back to the classics, because... classics are always the best.
Yeah, get a little specific.
They're known for like the memorable techniques. I definitely have to say with Yu Yu Hakusho, Kuwabara's spirit sword.
Spirit sword.
Now, I do love characters who are complete idiots. Like, I don't know. It's just like they're not. True. They're not the brightest, but they just have like full energy and
feelings.
Like, full
Their vitality oozes out.
And who doesn't like Rick Astley, honestly?
Exactly. So just with Kuwabara, he has like all this energy, and just also I'm a huge sword person. So like if you can like freaking like just flash a sword with all your energy and like make it like massive side and just like cut through anything, I'm just like I'm sold.
You're a huge fan of Bleach, though, right?
No, that's a completely different top. No, Bleach is out of the
anyway.
question.
So what makes his sword more better? What is cool about Kuwabara's sword?
I literally just said it. The given fact that he has so much energy, like he can. So throughout
he like makes the weapon himself.
Yeah,
like, it's
yeah.
not
So
even,
it's like
yeah.
he
Wait,
can
there's no
pull
shape
this.
to it?
No, he like pulls this like stick, and he can literally just. He literally yells out, "Spirit sword!" And he can just like literally create the blade himself with just his energy.
Yeah, and you can change its size.
Yeah,
too,
exactly.
right?
It's just like, how can you not like that?
It's like his blood.
Innocent.
Which is probably like another anime technique.
Yeah,
too.
I'll talk about my favorite spirit sword. It's actually the one from Shaman King.
Oh yeah.
So like after Yo reads the Chosenji Raketsu, he gets to use the double medium oversoul, which makes him have this just giant spirit sword. And I have to say, just artistically, like it's always been like one of my favorite techniques. Like it's like, oh, you two-hand and you get the massive spirit sword. But the thing is, they always kept that scale of like, you know, like the characters in Shaman King don't fly like in Dragon Ball or anything like that. So it's always just, it had to be made in this like practical way. He's like, no, it's like a katana was 8,000 times the size, and it's just weightless, so I can just swing it around.
Right, super fast.
Yeah, and so like you can extend it and everything, but it's like semi-translucent, so you could see him like through it and under it. I don't know. I always thought it was like a super classic like Japanese take on like, oh, well, you're gonna go giant mech sword style, but like we're using like spiritualism and
now is that
everything.
A variation from his first soul that he used?
Yeah, so he has Amidamaru is his like his spirit companion, and so like he originally has one where he uses a regular samurai sword and like it gets a little bit bigger.
Right.
But the big thing with the after he reads the Chosenji Riketsu and he does the double is he's got another little sword he does and he combines them to make like the super huge one. And I always love that like he can also just like pocket the size out, like kind of like the way it was like, yeah, he pulls a stick out and like then it's a giant sword. Even more so with this where it's like, yeah, it's a little boy, and then he pulls out like his things and he's got this like, 8-story sword to swing around. And then again, like the scaling, like can you imagine blocking with an 8-story sword like that? Like, I need to put
yourself
this in between myself, like, and the incoming attack. And then I think it like compared to other like everybody else's spirits in that series, they kind of went the other route where they did kind of like giant mech stands and stuff.
Right,
so it's
right,
like,
right.
like his was just different. It's like he maintained his personality within his giant move,
right,
rather than becoming this
making
monstrous
a
figure.
new god mode in sense. He's
yeah.
like, no, I just upgraded me specifically. Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, like kind of like how like I don't know, like Spirit Gohan is just different. It's like, he doesn't just go more Super Saiyan. That's kind of just. I like that we just took a different.
Mystic,
route.
super cool.
Yeah, cool.
So apparently I'm doing all the crazy weirdo seinen ones, but there's this one manga called Shigori. And it's a really esoteric, really weird samurai one. So I love it, of course. It's got that brutally, almost horror-style line work and hyper-realism, but it's still an anime character, so it looks really weird. Like Baki Grappler. Very grotesque as well. The theme is also grotesque, but their whole thing is, it's very serious, right? But then they'll have like these crazy moments, but they'll just keep straight facing it. So they're like, this is how it is. So one of the techniques of the Grand Master is that he has, a samurai sword, and then he'll hold it in a grip with his other two fingers on the back of the sword like this, and he's pulling this way and pushing that way and creating tension, and then when he lets go, it's like an unblockable slash or something. And of course,
he does the
hold
and
then
flick.
Yeah, exactly. But he does it like
Classic,
artfully with like his veiny hands, of course, like click in perfectly. And that's the style of every other swordsman. In fact, there's one who holds the sword in his hand, like with this grip. Basically just turning his whole forearm into the sword.
Very influenced by Wolverine.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, just keeping it straight. But it's really just, I obviously identified with how cool that would be because, I use my forearms and hands a lot for punching or drawing or, swinging the bakken sometimes. So I'm very much like, oh yeah, that's I could do that.
He also clearly wasn't afraid to draw hands, which is always just kind of nice.
Yeah, that's always like refreshing. It's like, oh cool, yeah, I want to see. Yeah, go ahead and brag about that anatomy, dude. I know how hard that is. That's tough. That's tough. But yeah, that was a fun one because it's just so realistic, and that's the fun part.
Right, it overcomes that suspension of disbelief, which is good for sure.
Yeah.
And then you had one that was kind of like gutturally anime.
I mean,
like,
it's not necessarily like a specific character. It's like almost it's like the regular like comedy cliche. It's like you have your strong male character in a shonen, you have like the shy or like the sassy small female character, and then like the male does something like some stupid shit, and then like the girl just like pulls back and punches him, and he just flies to Kingdom Come, and I'm just like, this is like the greatest technique. And it's just like, it's not only like for just shonen, like yeah, you can see it like prime example, like if Goku did something stupid and then like Bulma will just like punch him, Goku's like literally flying like down the road. Or it's like even like Naruto, like Sakura is like punching Naruto. Just it's so common.
That gag punch.
Yeah, it's like so the most cliche thing, but I'm like, that is the smartest and greatest technique that for all anime. It's just like have that great, powerful like moment for the girl is just literally punching the shit out of a guy, and he's just flying to like way to show that power woman.
Which is obviously like really redeeming on that sense, but it also is like such a smart narrative way to just like change the mood.
Right.
Like to just be like, okay, we were serious there, now something funny, and like we can just immediately
Gag
like
woman.
just
Go.
like
It's like turning everybody chibi also with that, and then it's great because you get these characters like Goku or any of these super masculine anime characters, and then the whole story is about strength, right, and driving male vitality. So you get caught up that in a little bit. And sometimes the men will do something stupid, and then you gotta do the gag punch. But it's just such good, like, no, if Bulma punched Goku, she would break her hand, technically. But we do that because, A, it's funny, and
it's
B,
so funny.
It's important because, just because Goku is strong doesn't mean he's always right. If he does something stupid, like, and someone has the gall to call him out on it, like, none of the other fighters are gonna, like, throw a fist towards Goku.
When women see something stupid, we'll call it on your bullshit immediately.
Exactly, and the fact that they let that happen and they show it, like, that's how everyone else, like, wow, Goku really messed up if he got punched.
And it's a very
like that.
visual way to kind of, like, translate that, too.
And the best thing is, it's not even just a punch, it can be a slap, you can, like, grab an object and just
like I love it, what is it in, what's the one with Maka and Soul Eater? The chop.
Maka chop!
Yeah, that's beautiful. She names it and everything. It's it's beautiful.
Really funny.
It's beautiful, and it's a good break. But the most exciting thing about all the anime moves, because this is the tip of the iceberg. Obviously, everybody's got every series has something, but it's great to know that.
Something to look forward to when you're watching.
Well, everything's specific,
Well, it's that same kind of specific thing where, like, an anime opening is so specific and repeatable, and it gets you in the mood. A kind of, like, Luffy shouting "Gum Gum Double Barrel" like puts you in the mood for like what's happening action-wise. Speaking of, going like back to iconic, the next one I was going to talk about was in Rurouni Kenshin, kind of like we're going back to a shonen kind of like base layer. Not the like Hitenmitsurugi, Ryu, Ogi, Amakakeru, no Harameki. Not Kenshin's like
not that one.
Ridiculous like vacuum move. But I really always like was just inspired by Saito's it's called the Gatotsu. And it's where he like it's just literally because it was just so different, kind of like what you were saying with like the flick.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, okay, so we see Kenshin all the time use two hands and like fight with a sword. But Saito's like thing was like he just like screwed back like a spear and just kind of shoved his sword into shit. And it was like, oh, so he's just got like he uses his katana like a spear, but it makes him like it worked for the character in so many ways. He's drawn really sharp and thin. He's got like really thin like eyes that are like pressed together, so he seems really like kind of like scheming almost.
Right.
But that's because he's such an opportunist. It's like, no, he's gonna go for broke and stab someone dead or nothing. Like
straight down the barrel. Yeah. It's focused.
Yeah, it's kind of it's very much like he like fires at the whites of the eyes, not like anything else. And the thing is that worked so well for his character, and then it was also just visually so iconic. Like seeing him go into that stance every time, like they even did it in the live action movie, and it was like,
they tried to.
Are we ready? Like. It's so good. And then, they grew it over time. He had, like, 3 different ways he did it. And they were all just basically, like, I either rush at you with it, I rush at you with an angle, or like I rush at you with at a different angle.
Very Soul Calibur.
Right, but then they gave him in the arc where they gave them all kind of like, it kind of was one of the arcs that invented that like each one of the big like anime shonen members is gonna fight a different boss basically.
Right.
You know, they had Sanosuke fight the monk. They had Saito fight this like blind guy in this dark chamber with a tortoise shell and like
the turtle guy, yes.
And the thing is, the turtle guy was just like a straight up assassin.
Right.
And like the thing is, they had set it up where obviously because they were trying to keep all the power levels like even because they kept like a rivalry with Kenshin rather than it just being like, well, Goku's the best. Like,
Yeah.
So part of that was like they were like, oh, this turtle guy is almost as good as the like he's trying to kill the main villain because that's how like good he is. So they have Saito fight him because I love the thought process too was like, well, I'll have Saito fight him because Saito can just murder this guy because you know Kenshin can't kill anybody. Excuse. But it was like, okay, we'll use this character because I want a bloodbath.
No, the panel where he's up on the
where he's like
that's
crucified.
You remember that panel?
But yeah, he ends up crucifying him. But like the way he gets there is they do this whole thing where you know he gets like beaten because he can't see and he can't use his thin little legs because they've been stabbed and he can't see. So the turtle guy and he can't like get through the turtle shield because it's you know shield versus spear like the shield wins. So they have him, like, you know, go through his, like, that's when he finally has his, like, whole monologue moment, too, with this, like, signature move, like, amping up. So they use it to not only, like, you know, define the character, but they're using it to, like, amplify the character in a very similar way that, you know, Luffy goes second gear.
Right.
And then all of the moves that he uses are the same moves he had before,
but they
mean something different.
Yeah, exactly. It's so funny that you were so like affected by that chapter because I read that chapter and I remember just well, like when do we get to the punching one? Like I want to fight the monk. Like,
yeah, Sanosuke was good, but like I like this one because it, like he was different in the fact that he killed people too.
Right? No, it was more serious.
As a 14-year-old, I paid attention. You know.
Well, you know.
But like he does zero stance, so it's super anime in that sense that it's like 1, 2, 3. We forgot about zero.
Zero stanza.
Which is where he just point blank. He just like brings back his hands and stabs through the turtle shell and just like destroys them. Right.
But
again, like just talking about it like as a like they didn't just use the move to offhand like characterize this character. Mm-hmm. They used it to just really
dig in there.
Exactly. Yeah. And it defined who this character was and grew who he was. Like
exactly.
Like I don't know. Like Kamehameha is really great that like everybody in Dragon Ball knows it, but like. It lost, like, you know, like, it was such a big deal when
Goku would do it.
Roshi used it, and then it was like, oh, Goku learned it. It's Goku's move. But, like, then everybody used it, and it's like, well, now it doesn't mean anything when they use it.
I mean, when Cell initially stole it, that was a big deal. It was like, everyone was like, oh my god. But now it's like, well, everybody, you know, it's it's a move. Like, everybody used it.
It's Dragon Ball universe. But anyone can use it.
These moves are just so cool because not only can you gush about them and sound like an awesome person who knows all this stuff, you can dig as far into them, but they really dig out exactly what you want from the characters. Luffy's rubbery, you know, bounce back ability is, you know, just further explored with his upgrades and, you know, all these martial artists, you know, I had very specific, you know, ones, but, you know, the physical haunt was very talking about greed, like what he was taking and stuff like that. So, you know, they just do more and more to sharpen a character. And we talked about that before, where it's like, no, anime is what it is, and it's only going to become more of that, you know? The characters only become more who they are, and they become clearer and even more straightforward. Like, so if you don't like it, like, go find a different character. Yeah. They'll have a zero stance, don't worry.
Fair,
yeah, man.
But yeah, what are you guys' favorite signature moves? Definitely let us know.
Throw them all down there.
Make sure to throw a rating if you guys are listening to this on the podcast form, on iTunes or something. It's great for us. And we'll catch you next time.